people are proud of putting fires out, and there's also that, I call it the double busy badge. Everybody walks around. Hey, hi. Standard question and answer isn't, hey, how are things? How you doing? Oh, I'm so busy. And it's like, look at this medal of honor I've got. I'm so busy. I'm like, dude, that is nothing to be proud of. Rushing around everywhere, looking busy. And is it the sake of looking busy for, appearance's sake? What was it Warren Buffett said? Was it, busy is the new stupid. And if you're racing around, it's just stupid behavior because you're going to trip up. As we say, in the complex world, if you're rushing around, applying system one, reacting, what do we say? Bad leaders react. If you're reacting rather than taking the time to be responsive, which is a well thought out, considered response rather than a reaction, knee-jerk reaction, then you're going to get a bad outcome. You're going to trip up. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to say things you didn't mean to say. You're going to go down pathways and take people with you, oblivious to what's down there. And then before you get there, there's dragons, bears, tigers, and sharks. And you're sat there going, never saw that coming. And everyone's behind you going, well, we did try to tell you. We did try to pull back on the reins, but you were so busy rushing. And here we are.
Well, it's interesting. When Alan Mullally was on our show, he made the point that, when he was in the midst of saving Ford Motor Company during the global financial crisis, people used to always say, oh, you must be working around the clock and burning the midnight oil. And he was like, nope, I'm home every day at 6:30. Because the most important thing, he said on the show, the most important thing as the leader is that I show up fresh the next day, not running around with my hair on fire, and calm and able to tackle what tomorrow's problems are in a deliberate and calm sort of way.
And you can make effective decisions. If you've got the headspace, and this is why I think, to me, leadership is about that ability. We see, and we work with a lot of individuals. You see these leaders and the heads are almost fuzzing because there's so much going on. And that's on them because they're taking it on. Instead of delegating, instead of that devolved decision-making that we so often help clients with, mission command, if you delegate, you're freeing up space. And you look at their diaries, isn't it? Back-to-back Zoom calls. That's just bad management of your own personal time. So if you free up that space, you're not that busy. And that's okay. And again, get over that stigma of not looking busy. Walking around, observing. You're helping, you're creating the environment and enabling your people within that to do what they need to do effectively. If you're micromanaging everything, if you're hands on everything, if you're unable, I was working with an organization last year and they met the team. Like, hey, have you seen the boss? I said, yeah, I was just spent yesterday with them. Oh, great. How are they? Good. And I could see it. Why? Well, I don't know. It'd be nice to see them at some point. I was like, when did you last see them? 2 weeks ago. I'm like, really? And then I went and speak. Oh, I'm so busy, Marcus. Well, let's have a look at your diary, and then you get the guilt trip of that behavior. But this is where Alan had this nailed. And we talked to Ron, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago? Put yourself first. Put your health first. If you're not clear of mind, a sound of mind as a leader, how can you help your people? How can you be rushing around everywhere with your tail on fire and your brain fizzing and be an effective leader?
And we're not advocating, abdicating your role as leader. We're not advocating taking it easy, and phoning it in, giving 50%, any of that. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying approach your job as a leader, as a decision maker, in a deliberate way where you give yourself the time and the headspace to make the right decisions. And this is something we've talked with a number of our guests about, and it's really important. Is that and this is why Kahneman wrote the follow-up book Noise to Thinking Fast and Slow, because not only is cognitive bias and heuristics a threat to decision making, so is the noise created by being double busy, as you put it, all the time, is also keeps you from making a good decision. And you do have to carve that space out. I mean, it's like, not that every single one of his decisions was perfect, because they weren't. But I mean, look at Churchill. I mean, Churchill famously stayed in bed half the day, and yet, and people would kind of be shocked at this, but he took a huge nap in the middle of the day, but then he got up fresh and worked late, and then but he paced himself, and people at the time, many people thought he was pacing himself to a fault, but it worked because what he was doing was giving himself the space to think.
And doesn't that go back to what we talk about in the 4 principles of red teaming, that self-awareness and reflection? If you're not self-aware, doesn't matter how great you are at doing everything else, if everyone around you is watching you slowly start to implode and you can't see or sense that yourself, and men are awful for this. Suicide rates for men are sky high because of this. We're the worst individuals.
And heart attacks.
We don't talk.
And heart attacks too.
Heart attacks, yeah. We bottle things up. We don't see it. We don't believe it can happen to us. And we don't really talk about these things either with our mates, with our work colleagues, with our family. And then boom, things happen and bad things happen.